San Francisco Chronicle's senior political writer Joe Garofoli joins us live in studio this morning. He has a very long day ahead of him.
Yeah.
But we're nice, sir. He's nice enough to join us for a cup of coffee.
And with a tie.
And the tie looks great. You're not a big tie guy.
I hate ties, yes.
All right, Joe. Let's start on the national stage. 2 years ago, President Trump won the Oval Office behind this wave of energy across America. Does that wave of energy still exist? And does it transfer to Senate and House Republicans?
That is the outstanding question tonight. We can look at a couple of signs. One is that younger voters are turning out in greater numbers compared to a couple of years ago. The more have already voted. That would be a bad sign for Trump.
Okay, and specifically in California, I mentioned last week about Orange County and the importance of this. For those who live on the East Coast, we may not know until tomorrow morning whether or not Democrats do win back the House or if Republicans keep control of Congress.
Right. We may not know for many tomorrow mornings, as it takes a long time to count. Los Angeles traditionally takes a long time to count its votes. We may not get their votes until later this evening, and so we're going to be up late tonight, and we may be talking about this tomorrow morning or the next morning.
I'm sure we will. Okay, so we're going to get super local here in a second.
Yes.
First, though, I'd like to address this issue of record high voter registration here in the Bay Area and elsewhere. Does that directly translate to high voter turnout? And what about the sentiment of all my like-minded friends and neighbors are doing it? Do I really need to go?
I think in the second part of your question, I think there's so much energy, there's so much collective energy around that. I think that might be less of a factor this year than it has in previous years. On the first part, though, traditionally, yes, registration does translate into higher voting numbers. But I was out in the Central Valley a couple weeks ago, and there's a great deal of concern about whether, yes, we're registering all these young people, we're registering all these Latinos and such, but will they actually turn out to vote? There's all kinds of stuff to get people out to vote. Lyft is offering free rides. There's all kinds of ways to get to the polls. You can actually collect ballots at the door, like when people are going door to door. I was with canvassers, and they said, okay, do you want to finish your ballot here? Well, wait. And they take the ballot. I mean, you can't get easier than that.
That person-to-person, door-to-door effort we're seeing very much in the midterms.
Very much so, yeah.
Okay, hyper-local, right across the bay, Proposition 6. This is the one that had the Twitter feud between... I'm sorry, Proposition C. This is the one that had Mark Benioff of Salesforce coming out in strong support, Mayor London Breed, Twitter CEO, strong against it. What are the polls showing for Proposition C?
Showing it's going to pass, yeah. This, so often we talk about how San Francisco has changed in the last several years, in large part because of the economic boom led by the tech industry. And so San Francisco isn't what it used to be. This is a chance for people to say, okay, the tech industry needs, and not just tech, but all big businesses need to pay their fair share. We'll see. Maybe there is actually, as we talked about the other day, maybe there is a tech block of voters who don't want this to happen. Maybe the young voters are like, wait a minute, that might hurt my company. I don't know. We don't know how that will happen. But the polls show that it's likely to pass. It would like to, the proponents would like to have a 2/3 majority of it to prevent any sort of legal blowback against it.
Speaking of taxes, Prop 6, a statewide proposition that's going, if it passes, will repeal the gas tax. It's not doing well, and generally Californians are loath to tax themselves, but since the tax already has been in place, you think that has something to do with why it's not doing well?
And also, the two words that don't really appear on the ballot when people read it are the words gas and tax. So if someone were looking at that blankly and without any sort of information, they wouldn't know that they were repealing the gas tax. And I think that's the biggest thing that hurts that measure. Also, there's been a ton of money put up against it, so the repeal of the gas tax is looking like it's going to go down.
If the lieutenant governor becomes the next governor of California, over the next 4 years, what does this state look like? What do you foresee? And as I mentioned at the top of the newscast, this relationship that he currently has with the president of the United States, where does that go in the next 4 years?
I think it's something we're going to have an interesting early look at that probably within the next 24 hours. Because if the House does flip to Democrats, we can all write what the president's tweet's going to be right now. This was illegal voting. This was illegals in California voting. This is rigged. How is Newsom going to respond to that if he is likely our next governor? He has to figure out what his relationship with the president's going to be. He has been going at him. If you look at his Twitter feed over the last couple of weeks, a lot of it is very Trump-focused. Is he going to battle him there? Or is he going to take him on like Governor Brown has taken him on? Very much in action, picking his spots. Jerry Brown's certainly not one to get into Twitter wars and back and forth on social media. So he's going to have to find his balance between how much of this battle is he going to fight on social media, how much of it is he going to fight in terms of deed and action. And we'll see. That is going to be a good early test for this young governor in 51, but yes, a young new governor.
All right, Joe Garofoli, thanks for starting the day with you.
Absolutely.
Wherever your day leads you, I don't know.
I'll be taking off this tie in about 35 seconds.
Keep the vest on.
Keep the vest on, yes.
always stays on.
Be sure to tune in to KTV Plus tonight for our live coverage from 7 to 10 o'clock as election results start to come in. Then turn to KTVU Fox 2 for complete coverage on the 10 and 11 o'clock news. And join us, of course, tomorrow right here on Mornings On 2. We will have overnight developments on local races and the battle for control of Congress.